Hey, what's up, everyone? Appreciate you joining me tonight. I have the inventor of dark skin activism. Um, I'm sorry. Oh man, I'm drinking some water now. Now I'm choking up. No, I have the inventor of dark skin activism. I'm sorry, Rashida Strober. She's the author of A Dark Skinned Woman's Revenge, How to Be the Hottest Dark Skinned Chick on the Planet, and Darkism. And with no further ado, I want to introduce Miss Strober.
How y'all doing? Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
No, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. I've brushed up on your work and your mission, and I definitely want to introduce my corner of YouTube to you. Um, can you start us off with your how you got started, your origin story?
Absolutely. Well, really, the honest truth is, dark skin, the roots of dark skin activism started way back when I was a kid, because I am a victim, as are many other dark skinned people, of what I have coined dark skin mental abuse. And that just means you grow up, I also call it darkism as well, but dark skin mental abuse, you grow up in your families, in school, in society, and that kind of thing, and you're basically picked on be, because of being dark skinned. So it's something that it doesn't happen in the Black community. I didn't really see it happen to the same level in terms of other skin tones, but the dark skin and the ugly, the Black and the ugly always went together. So my childhood was surrounded by Black and ugly. Black and skinny was in there too, but that didn't bother me as much. But the Black and ugly was, they were like intertwined. So the roots of, and I didn't really know how to articulate it. I knew that it was happening to me. I saw the favoritism that was going on in my family with non-dark skinned people and how they would be treated better. And I saw how I was not being treated good, but at the time I couldn't really articulate it, being so young. But as I grew up and as I progressed, I started to just continuously pay attention to these things, because when you combine, being picked on for dark skin, and it's going on in your family, it's going on in schools, society, church, wherever, and you combine that with coming from an impoverished background, and you bring all these things together, it kind of like hits you in the face. And so as I grew up, I started to pay attention to these things. And finally, what I decided to do in 1998 at St. Petersburg College, they were having something called Harambe, which is for Black History Month, and they had a speech/lecture contest. And my father was in the Nation of Islam, and my father would always tell me that black is the original. He would say this all the time. I would go to his house, because him and my mom was not together anymore, but on the times that I would go to his house, he would have me listening to people like Louis Farrakhan, Malcolm X. I would be listening to this stuff, and I would be like, what is he talking about? He's saying that, Black is the original, but when I go to school, they be saying I'm Black and ugly. They be calling me monkey mouth and all kinds of names associated with my skin color. So it was contradictory to me. So I started searching, and I decided to, in 1998, I decided to do a speech/lecture speaking specifically about dark skin beauty discrimination. And at the time, I still have the magazine. Alec Weck, the Sudanese model, she's very dark skinned. She was on the cover of Cosmopolitan magazine. And I remember seeing her in the store. I saw the magazine. I was like, whoa, she was so Black. And I was like, so I saw the magazine. I got the magazine. And then I started seeing commentary from Black people in different places at the time, where they were saying, oh, she Black and ugly. She ain't got no hair. She looks like a man. She's not the real representation of what a Black woman should look like. And it hit me, because these are the same things that I've heard: the manly mantra, the ugly, everything associated with dark skinned female beauty being associated with badness. And so I decided I'm going to talk about this. So I wrote the speech, the lecture, wrote the, I remember practicing, going over it over and over again. At one point, I was worried about how people would perceive it.
How old were you?
Huh?
How old were you?
Oh, at the time, and that was in 1998, I was 20. I was 20, and I was an undergraduate student at St. Petersburg College. And So I was worried about how people would perceive it because I had been introverted and afraid to talk about the issues in terms of dark skin and people talking about me because of my color, because I had been made to feel that if you talk about it, you're going to get attacked even more. So you better just shut up. But, you know, like I said, my father's influence on me, and then continuously seeing these things, I wanted to address it. And so I gave this speech at St. Petersburg College and talked about Alec Weck, and it was actually a speech contest. So there were two other people, I believe. There was a black male that was in it, and there was an Indian young lady in it. She was a bit darker skinned as well. Ironically enough, I think back on that. And I ended up winning the contest. There was a $250 prize. I ended up winning the contest. I took my aunt who came with me on that day out to eat. We were so happy. And my son had just been born. Raheem, shout out to Raheem. He'd been listening to my dark skin activism for years, even from a baby. So I won, but it was like a bittersweet win, because I remember the black guys in the audience. They was like mad. They was looking at me like, what's she talking about? They was like pissed. I'll never forget it. And so, you know, that's like kind of like the short story of how this all started and how it all took place.
Okay. Now, okay, all right, I have a question. Now, do you understand, what was the complaint? You saw black men, they didn't appreciate the message. Did any of them address like what they found offensive?
No, they didn't address it directly. They just, when I remember walking off the stage, and just getting dirty looks, angry looks from them, and hearing them after the whole speech contest was over and everybody was mingling. I remember hearing them saying stuff, negative stuff, like when I would walk past, stuff like, you know, what I was saying, what I was referring to in the speech wasn't true. And it was like the same type of opposition that I get now. It was just an air of, you won, but you really ain't win. Because in my head, I was interpreting that as, we are still the ones that determine whether or not you ugly. And I was still trying to fight against that. I found myself trying to fight against that because I had experienced it for so long coming from the black community. I gotta be honest here now. This dark skin stuff, I can't say it was white people. I can't say, and I thought hard. I was like, have I ever been discriminated? I'm talking about in my formative years by white people for being dark, and I can't. It was the jokes and the abuse, the dark skin mental abuse. It came from the black community. So it was the same sentiment on that day that I had been experiencing my entire life.
Well, surely you can acknowledge that anti-blackness comes from white people.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt. Okay. No doubt. And that's one of the things that I want to make clear. I totally understand. I would say I'm a student of the late, great Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. I have the ISIS papers. That book is gold to me. And one of the things that has informed my worldview in terms of creating dark skin activism is what Dr. Frances Cress Welsing talks about in her book. She talks about, in fact, there's another book that I'm writing called Inventing Dark Skin Activism. And there is a section in the book where I talk about Dr. Frances Cress Welsing's contribution to my own personal development of dark skin activism, even though she didn't specifically say, you know, dark skin people like how I focus on. But she talks about the fact of just what you just said. This type of discrimination in general, dark skin discrimination in particular, comes out of what she calls racism, white supremacy. So you're absolutely right.
Okay, no, because I know some people will hear that and say that will consider that victim blaming, you know, that this is something that is the invention of blacks, and then we use it against each other, you know, because we're just idiots. And so I just wanted to make sure that the audience knows that this monkey mouth, black ass, this coon tar baby bullshit, you know, that's something that has been injected into us. It's not something that, you know, we invented ourselves. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, you know, rest in peace. Now, as far as you being dark skinned, growing up with dating, you said you have a son, right?
Yes, and a daughter.
And okay, so you have children. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how was it? What was your reaction from the opposite sex once you became of age, or in dating age, I should say?
Well, it's still a mixed bag. I mean, even to this day, it's a mixed bag. I mean, just the other day, I looked online and oh my God, I've been called manly. That and that bothers me. I will say that. That one right there is for me, and people say, oh, you're not speaking for all dark-skinned women. I'm talking about me right now. As a dark-skinned woman, when I look at the history, when I look at slavery, for example, I look at the African dark-skinned women that were working in the fields and how they had them working like they were men. And I remember reading some books where they would say, oh, they appeared to be men and stuff like that. And thinking about back on I believe it was Sojourner Truth that she had the famous speech, "Ain't I a woman?" How people kind of tried to say, oh, she looked like a man, and she was reportedly at one of the speeches that she gave, and they told her, take off your clothes and prove that you're a woman. So all this stuff, all this historical stuff circulates in my head when I see a comment online where somebody say she's manly or she's aggressive. And for me, I mean, I'm a Black woman that loves Black men. Black men are my kryptonite. That just is what it is. So I always wanted to be acceptable to the Black man. You understand? So when I see a Black man making comments about me like that, to this day, it hurts my feelings. So to answer your question, there are some Black men that view me as cute, beautiful, whatever you want to call it. And there are Black men who say that I'm ugly. I mean, there's countless videos on YouTube right now made by Black men who are calling me basically the ugliest woman in the world. People can go and look, it's right there. So, I mean, it's a mixed bag, but I will admit, because of my upbringing, that it's an insecurity there. People always say, oh, you're insecure? Well, yeah, I am insecure. I don't make no bones about that. So, yeah.
So growing up, part of the development of your psyche, did you always see light-skinned women? Were you the last one picked on the, when it came to dating, going through high school and, your collegiate years? Did you see yourself overlooked just because you're dark, is what I'm trying to say?
Absolutely. I remember when I was in high school, there was a football team. The football, they're always the most popular, and they used to sit at this table. I remember when I entered 9th grade, and I think I'm mistaken. I sat by the table, and they would they would say all kinds of stuff. There was this one guy in particular, I will never forget him, where there was two of them. But the dark-skinned guy is the one that really kind of got me, because every time he was really dark-skinned, way darker than I am, and every time he saw me, he would have something negative to say. He'd be calling me ugly, black, and all kinds of names. And then he had this one friend that would join in, and it was really bad. I mean, now I did have a few boyfriends in high school, but sometimes, unfortunately, the bad stuff is what really impacts you, because this went on for a long time, and I wound up dropping out of school, high school, in the 10th grade. And to be honest with you, I was glad that I dropped out of high school, because I didn't have to deal with that no more. I didn't have to, because it's just like a lot to go to school every day and know that you're gonna have to. At one point, I stopped eating lunch. One of the other jokes was, "Oh, you too skinny." Well, I stopped eating lunch. I wouldn't go in the lunchroom because I just didn't want to be bothered with it. So, that's one of the reasons why I was, So, and later on, I started working as a teacher, substitute teaching. I taught at, ironically enough, at St. Petersburg College, where I gave the speech at years later. But I would see the same thing happen with dark-skinned children in school, but not on my watch. If you bring that on my watch, we're going to nip it in the bud right there. Because I know the damage that it could do. Like, it can cause you to want to say, I'm done with school. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, that wasn't the reason why I left school. But like I said, when I dropped out of school because of other reasons, I was actually happy not to have to deal with that aspect of it. So yes, I was picked on in school, in the lunchroom, on, oh my God, the bus. That's informed how I deal with my children. I will not, my son never caught a school bus to school. I would literally take him to school, and I homeschooled him as well. And it was because of all this stuff that was in my head. My daughter, she's 4, and she's not ever getting on a school bus. That's not gonna happen on my watch. So it's all these things that happen to me. It's like it's in the back of my mind, and it impacts how you develop as a human being.
Now, when it came to choosing their father, is he the same color as you?
That's a good question. My son's father is about your complexion. And I think that had a lot to do with the fact that he was from, when I met him, he had just moved from DC, Maryland. He's originally from DC, and he moved down here, and he didn't have a bias towards darker skin. As I got to know him, his brothers, they all had dark skinned girlfriends, and I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. I actually couldn't. I remember, oh my God, I remember people would be like, why are you with her? She's so black and ugly. People would say this. I remember he would almost get into fights with people because they were saying this, like, oh my God. So he's about your complexion. And then my ex-husband, because I'm going through a divorce right now. Don't feel bad. Please don't feel bad for me. I'm just saying that's what it is. But my ex-husband, he's super dark skinned. Like he's the color of this tablet. So and I knew him from my college days. So yeah.
So now, when picking your son's father, did his color come into the equation? Like you didn't want to continue this curse of dark skin?
No, the color didn't. The color wasn't an issue to me at all, because I didn't really think about his color, because to be honest, he was in pursuit of me. So it wasn't a thing about. But I did kind of think to myself, because of my own instinct, why does he like me? I was like, oh, everybody's saying I'm ugly. Well, because he was real handsome. I'm gonna give him his credit. He's super handsome. So not because he light skinned, or your complexion, or not light skinned. I don't know if we consider you light skinned. But anyway, he was way lighter than I am, because his mother, his grandmother, she was super light skinned. Like she almost looked like she was white when I finally met her. God rest her soul. Very nice woman. And his mother was kind of on the lighter side. And I remember when I first met her, she would tell me how when she grew up in DC, that the dark skinned people, she couldn't play with the dark skinned people. It was like lines you couldn't cross. There was the dark skinned people over here and the lighter skinned people over here. And if she was really bothered by it. So, but I'm going off on tangent, sorry about that. But the color thing with him, I didn't focus on the color thing with him, because it was a situation where I was just wondering, why does he like me? I was thinking to myself, I'm not worthy. I'm too ugly. Too black and ugly, you know? Now,
as far as with your 2 children, they're 2 different hues, right? I mean, is that fair to say?
No, actually, they my complexion. They're dark. They're dark skinned.
Okay, because I was going to wonder, was there any friction in the household because of the programming? You know, you may be telling children black is beautiful, but they still watch TV, they still go to school. You know, the programming is bigger than what parents say. Okay, so at what point did you decide to put teaching to the side and write this book?
Well, actually, I was writing Hottest Dark Skinned Chick on the Planet. This is a motivational book for dark skinned females in particular, but dark skinned people and human beings, because the principles apply to all human beings. But I was writing this while I was a substitute teacher over the course of, probably took me about 2 years, because I was like really busy at that time. So I wrote that I would be on my lunch breaks and I'd just be writing, because I wanted to get it done, because it was just so much stuff. Writing is real therapeutic. So there's so much stuff that I wanted to say, and I thought that would help people. So many things that I had done to help me that I put in the book. So it took me about 2 years to write. And then as far as the teaching thing, it kind of phased out, because I'm a bit more entrepreneurial. So I always want to kind of like do my own
thing, boss, right?
And be my own boss. And I do my plays and my books, and it's like, and I have another side business that I run. So it became to the point where, okay, I need more time to get all this stuff done, and I can't get it all done while working in this capacity. So eventually I had to phase it out and you know, to be able to do what it is that I'm doing right now.
Now, are there rules, parameters, expectations with dark skin activism? Like, does that door swing both ways, or is your focus on the dark skinned female?
That's an excellent question. And the first thing I want to say to that is I want to talk about paradigms. Dark skin activism is a completely new paradigm. And whenever you have new paradigms come along, it's always going to be conflict. It's like a plane taking off the ground. Like, it's kind of shaky when it's taking off, but eventually it gets up in the air and it goes smooth and you land. So that's kind of what I see going on with dark skin activism, is that it's so many facets to it right now. It's a new paradigm, and it's a lot of friction. It's a lot of people misunderstand me. So for example, they equate dark skin activism to anti light skin or anti-white. And it's not about any of that. So what I find myself having to do is constantly, which I expected this anyway, because this is a part of what it is I do, to constantly speak to people about it and answer people's questions and come on to shows like this. Thank you for having me, to speak about what dark skin activism is, and to do the plays and the book signings. And I actually give away this book for free because it's all a part of the dark skin activism paradigm, so that people can begin to understand. Because from the way I see it, I see in 100 years from now, when I'm dead and gone, I see a legacy of dark skin activism or darkism being taught on the college level, because I myself have a master's degree. So I understand how paradigms come in and they shift, and then people come and they study this stuff later. So it's just laying the groundwork. And whenever you land the groundwork, there's going to be, peaks and valleys, highs and lows, and that's just the nature of the beast. So I hope I answered your question.
Okay, yeah, no. I have more. Now, can a dark skin, okay, if, for those that want to, I guess adhere to what you got going on, can a dark skinned woman, does she have free reign of her pick of the male species or men, period? Or is she, because I know you're anti-Black men dating outside their race. Does a dark-skinned woman, does she have have to live under those same rules? And
Well, in my head, I have to be brutally honest here. This is going to be something I want to say that I have been criticized a lot on, and I could take the constructive criticism. It's okay. In my head, the way that I've envisioned this, and I'm going based off of my own personal experience, and that's where all this is coming out of. But of course, it changes as time goes on, because again, it's a paradigm and it's going to shift. So in my head, I'm thinking to myself, I am a dark-skinned woman who has been treated badly my whole life. And I, as a dark-skinned woman, am viewed as the most ugliest woman on the planet, being dark-skinned. And so in my head, it's about Black men on a whole seeing dark-skinned women as beautiful. And in my head, I'm not looking at whether the Black man is a dark-skinned Black man or a brown-skinned Black man or a light-skinned Black man, because I'm dealing with the fact that, and I will argue with people on this, I'm dealing with the fact that dark-skinned women have it the worst. I'm not looking at rather the reverse, in terms of saying a dark-skinned Black man, for example, can he date a light-skinned Black woman? I'm not looking at it from that point of view. I'm looking at it again from the point of view of, I'm the most oppressed woman on the planet. I'm dark-skinned. Everybody views me as ugly, whether it be a light-skinned Black man, a brown-skinned Black man, or a dark-skinned Black man. So in my head, I'm trying to get all those men to see me, a dark-skinned woman, as beautiful. I hope that makes sense, because I've gotten that question a lot, and I've gotten that criticism a lot. But people have to understand what's going on up here. Whether you agree with it or not, to me, that's not the issue, because people don't have to agree. I'm not here for people to agree. I'm here for people to understand where it's coming from. So that's how I'm viewing things when I first started this. Because remember, I'm going back to where all this started from, being picked on by black boys, later young black men, and then.
Okay, now, so your whole thing is this. It has to be intraracial, so it has to be within the black community. So, the dark-skinned black woman has her pick of the black rainbow, so to speak, right?
Yes, and only because.
Okay, okay, cool. Yes. So, the next part of my question is, I just want to make sure interracial dating is frowned upon, according to you, right?
I don't think that black men and women should be dating outside of their race.
Perfect. Okay, now
due to our economic and social and political situation, it makes no sense.
I agree. I mean, for me, it's because of, let's defeat white supremacy, then we can talk about, we'll see if other people even want to be bothered when they don't have that advantage over us. But
right.
Now black men, according to you, do they have limits to the Negro rainbow, or can they pick who, from lightest to darkest, or should the focus be dark-skinned women exclusively?
The focus right now, because of the oppressed position that dark-skinned women are in on a worldwide scale, black men, y'all the ones that got the power. Black men got to balance that out, is what I'm saying. I'm not a fool. I'm not going to sit here and say, that's another thing that people say. They think that I want all black men to stop dating non-dark-skinned black women, to stop. I never said that. What I want is balance. I want black men to I want the dating and the marriage rates in terms of black men marrying dark-skinned women to balance out. I want equality, if you will. I want fairness. And if we're honest with ourselves, we know that non-dark-skinned black women have had the upper hand since American chattel slavery and Reconstruction. We know this. This is facts. It's straight up facts. So if that's the case, then why can't black men take the lead and say, you know what, we're gonna balance this out in terms of we're no longer gonna look at our darker skinned women, whether they be American, African, wherever they may be in the world, we're not gonna discriminate against them anymore. We're not gonna, for example, over in Nigeria, in other African countries, they have a serious problem with these women lightening their skin. And I have a couple of friends that live, I say, why are these black women over here lightening their skin? And you know what they tell me? Because they want a husband. That's what the men like. So this is what I'm talking about when I talk about the balance. It's not balanced. When you have a situation where you have black women, beautiful dark-skinned black women who are lightening their skin, putting on these, and by the way, the skin lightening industry is $1 billion industry, predicated on this destroying the self-esteem of darker skinned people of the world. You have these women doing that, there's a problem. So when I look at it, again, going back to, I want these black men's approval, people get mad at me. They say, go get you a white man. I want the black man's approval, and I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna keep working until I get it. And to not just me, but for all black women. So the black men gotta come in and say, hey, we gotta balance this out. We gotta be more fair when we decide to start dating and marrying, in terms of, we can't just exclude or put to the bottom or make them like a second pick, second round draft. You know what I'm saying? We have to be balanced in our mate selection.
Okay. I definitely understand that. Hold on one second. I got to address the chat room. Clifton. Hey man, I appreciate you watchdog in the chat, man. I really appreciate it, man. It's much needed because, people are ridiculous. But Cliff, you can only ban curious. You can't ban every fucking body, man. You're banning people that are here all the time. I got to go and unban these people because the messenger Jafar Blackman, I mean, Cliff, you got to stop. So, I don't have a, God damn it, Cliff. Yeah, you can't do it, man. Just curious. That's it, man. Because I forgot to declaw you, man, because you're nuts. It's a ton of people. I'm sitting there watching it and I'm trying to pay attention. I'm just seeing you just pick people off because they say something crazy to you. You can't do that shit. So, Cliff, I appreciate it, man. I got to go back and unblock people because Cliff is Freddy Krueger. But and I'm sorry, Miss Strober.
Oh, no. Go ahead. You good?
Okay, I just had to set the tone because yeah, he's gunning everybody down.
Oh wow. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So my next question is now, as far as dark skin activism, you say that the focus should be on the dark skinned woman. What exactly are your goals when you write this book? What do you want people to walk away from, and ultimately, what is the end game?
The end game is, in terms of Black male and female relationships, that's the basis of the rebuilding of Black nationhood, as far as I'm concerned. Can't have a Black nation if you don't got the Black man and the Black woman together. So the end goal of all of this, and again, I'm being very honest, I'm going back to my own personal experience of wanting a Black man's attention and love and everything, is to reconcile the relationship specifically between the Black man and the dark-skinned Black woman, and to bring the Black man and the dark-skinned Black woman together again in balanced numbers, in equality, balance. So that's my ultimate goal. I want, in order to do that, we have to get more Black men to see dark-skinned Black women as beautiful. That's that and we know that there's a problem, because I see it all the time. I've seen it in schools. I've seen it online. I've experienced it myself. There, like I said, the skin lightening industry is driven by Black women who want to lighten their skin because they're seeking a mate. So there is an issue. So we have to get these Black men to see dark-skinned Black women as beautiful in order to bring us back together. That is really my true goal. Now,
okay, now let me ask you this. Now, how do you see that, if you were in charge of things, how would you roll that out? As far as this, because what you're talking about is changing the planet, putting dark skin at the top of the beauty standard, is not something, not some shit you do in Kentucky. We're talking about the entire globe, the skin bleaching in Africa and the Aborigines in Australia, things like that. How would you roll this out?
Well, you think there's a saying that goes, you think globally, but you act locally. So that's what I started to do. I said I could start with myself, with, for example, the speech / lecture on dark skin beauty discrimination, starting with that. And then I'm an artist, I'm an actor, I'm a performer. So what I decided to do is to use my gift as a performer to change the world. And so I wrote the play A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge back in 2006, which is actually came from a play I wrote called A Dark-Skinned Girl's Triumph, which is really about myself. So I decided, when I saw people's reaction to this was in 2006 and onward, I said, I gotta start coming out speaking on this more and talking about it. And I can't be afraid to speak on my own dark skin experience. And so what I do, the way that I'm doing that right now, to answer your question, is I have the play A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge that I'm currently touring around the United States. I've been doing it since 2006, and it's continuously building. I have actually 4 books that I've written exclusively on dark skin and staying focused on the dark skin issue, because a lot of people done came to me and said, why can't you talk for all Black women? Why can't you talk? But that's the problem. I can't do that. I have to focus, because I was in Black movements, and I thought that I would find refuge in those Black movements in terms of the stoppage of color discrimination, dark skin discrimination. It wasn't there. So I had to say, okay, I gotta focus specifically on this. And I have a platform in terms of being an artist where I could use my art form to do it. So I wrote the play A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge, where I play 5 different characters that's loosely based on myself and other experiences that I've seen. And then from there came the book, A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge. And then from there came, a lot of what I do is based in anger. So instead of me going out there falling into the stereotype of the violent dark-skinned woman, I said, I'm gonna put this anger in the form of a book. So then with darkism, and darkism took me, I started working on this about 3 years ago, and I kept leaving it and coming back to it, leaving it, coming back. But I'm so glad I finished writing this book because it's helped a lot of people. And that's what started to expand. Darkism is where I really expanded from just talking about dark-skinned female beauty discrimination to talking about dark-skinned discrimination in general, because people from all over the world are buying this book. I had a brother over in France that just did a stellar review of the book, and he read it, and several brothers. And that's very important because I'm reaching a lot of my market that I want to reach, which is really the Black man, and they're paying attention, and it's going worldwide. So it's slow, but through the play and through the books and through the continuous commentary, whether it be, I still give talks occasionally in schools.
So let me ask you this, not to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Because if I don't, you won't stop.
Okay.
Now let me ask you this. So let's say colorism is gone, right? Now dark skin is not a negative.
Mm-hmm.
In your book, How to Be the Hottest Black Chick, Dark Skinned Chick on the Planet, what exactly, because I know you said it's a motivational book, what exactly do you cover? Is it something, about your appearance? Does it deal with dark-skinned woman's attitude? What does it do? Like after this is hypothetical. Once color is not a factor, how does the dark-skinned woman compete with the rest of the women on Earth? Because at this point, there's an argument to be said that your works, you ultimately want things to be given when there is a competition amongst the female species, and that competition keeps steel sharpens steel. It keeps women at their best. What does your book touch any of that?
Yeah, it does. The book is really about personal development. I'm on a quest to become the best version of Rashida that I could be. So I talk about the things that I actually do to try to achieve the best version of me, which I think is applicable to other people. So for example, I'm a vegan. Well, I don't even like calling myself a vegan. I like to call myself a plant-based eater, basically. So I don't eat meat. I juice every single day like clockwork. I did a video, I put it up on Facebook, YouTube, showed people what was in my refrigerator. There's a bunch of fruits and vegetables and that kind of thing. I run every single day. Sometimes I might miss a day, I admit that, but 9 times out of 10, I'm running every day. I love to keep myself in shape. I'm a faster. I like to fast because fasting gives me a lot of mental clarity. I like drinking green tea. I put all this stuff in the book because of my background and where I came from. I had to do certain things to make sure my mind stayed laser sharp to be able to achieve and to come from poverty and homelessness and abuse and rape and all this stuff that I've been through in my life. In order for me not to go that way to the mental hospital or go that way to the jail, I had to say, I gotta do something here. And what I learned is that what you put in your body is key. And being a plant-based eater has me running, like I said, 4-5 miles a day every time I run. You know what I'm saying? And I'm 38 years old. I'm not like super young. People think that I am, but I'm not. So stuff like that. I want dark-skinned women in particular, dark-skinned men in general, and Black people in general, and human beings in general to be their highest self. And I think one of the things you could do to become your highest self is to what you put in your body, it needs to be, get rid of the processed food. I don't watch TV, for example. There's no TV in here. I read constantly. I also talk about Black women in general and dark-skinned women in particular. I also tell them, one of my things is, don't have a baby before you're 30. Consider the emotional, the economic, the social ramifications of this. I talk about that. I talk about, oh my God, the importance of drinking water, the importance of being organized. If you want to get stuff done, you got to organize your space, organize your house, organize your car. The importance of de-stressing yourself, because I'm a very high stress person naturally. So I had to do certain things to distress myself, like meditation and getting calm and quiet. What else do I talk about? Raw foods, plant-based foods. I'm big on, also believing in yourself the habit of continuously going, never giving up. When people tell you you can't do something, no, you do it, and you ignore them and you keep going. So it's about developing this up here. That's very important to me. And I think it's all about, really, I think it's about the food that you put in your body and the level of, exercise and all this kind of stuff, and meditation. So all of these things are in the books. And as you can see, it's not only applicable to dark-skinned women, but it's really applicable to anybody. People that have read the book and reviewed it, they've even said it. Make no mistake, there's Black men that have gotten this book and reviewed it and read it, even though it's called Hottest Dark-Skinned Chick on the Planet. So yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Okay, now what do you say to those your detractors who say that the dark-skinned girls, they just right now they just hating because they can't be as lazy as other shades of women, that they actually have to run the extra mile, and that in contrast to Black men, Black men have been dealt their cards and they only complain about cheating, not having to compete. It seems like the dark-skinned girl doesn't want to compete against the other groups of women, that she wants special treatment or a handicap, so to speak. What would you say to those people?
Well, I would say that's to look at it from that aspect is to deny the reality of darkism in terms of the dark-skinned woman's position in terms of the standard of beauty throughout the world. You're denying, it's almost like denying the Holocaust happened. That it makes no sense. When you look around the world, when you really pay attention to it and you say, what woman is on top? If you make a hierarchy, if you look at it and you say, what woman is on top in terms of beauty and desirability, the dark-skinned woman is at the bottom. She's been at the bottom for years and years and years. The white woman is at the top. And then the shades, they start to get less lighter based on the standard of beauty, which is the white woman. So if you got the dark-skinned woman on the bottom of that hierarchy, which again, one of the key evidences in terms of this is the billion-dollar skin lightening industry. Why in the world would you have a billion-dollar skin lightening industry if the white woman and her standard of beauty and light skin is not the top? It makes no sense. You don't have a skin darkening in terms of people going around trying to get as black as this tablet. You don't have that type of industry. So to those people, I would say that they're denying darkism in terms of beauty discrimination among dark-skinned women, not just in the United States, but this is all over the world. If you take a look at India, for example, they have the group, I believe they're called the Untouchables. They have a caste system over there where the dark-skinned people, they always been treated bad. And they bring those attitudes over the Indian people.
Well, see, Ms. Strober, if I could, I want this to focus on the plight of Africans, because those same dark-skinned Indians who caught hell in Bangladesh will come over here and call me and you niggers all day. Absolutely. So, their plight is of no concern of mine. I'm not one of these people who believes in an all-inclusive conversation. I want it to be strictly between Africans. So, that's just, just my personal opinion. Now, as far as this being, because as Black men, right, I'm a Black man, even though I am light skinned, and I guess when people say there's a light skin privilege, I can say that if there is, it's not something that is really tangible. Like, okay, if maybe light skin can guarantee a sexual access, but it definitely doesn't guarantee a job, because we still have to go to the oppressor for work. But as a Black man, dark or not, we still have to compete with our melanin handicap. And what do you say to those that say that, this conversation for Black dark-skinned women isn't so much the hue, it will be more or less, their attitude and their own, this is an internal problem. What do for them specifically, that they because they're dark, they adhere to the stereotypes. They may be, because they're constantly browbeaten with you're ugly, you're manly, blah, 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 that they also adapt those stereotypes and become undesirable all on their own. What do you say to that?
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I will be doing a Google Hangout that I planned like about 4 months ago called "It's Not My Dark Skin, It's My Attitude." The reason why I'm doing that hangout is because that's exactly what Black men all over the internet have said to me. In fact, there's this one person on YouTube, one Black man, he entitled his video, "It's Not Your Dark Skin, Boo, It's Your Attitude, Rashida Strober." So he called me every ugly, called me out my name, and basically said I have a bad attitude. But again, what these people who say that it's the attitude of the dark-skinned woman, what they're not realizing, or what they're not really paying attention to and really thinking about deep in their heart, is what is the origin of this? What is the origin of the dark-skinned woman's so-called attitude? Where does it come from? If you take a look at, if you care to take a look, and a lot of people don't even care. They don't even care. That's why I'm forcing this agenda, because a lot of people don't care about the plight of what a darker-skinned woman is going through. But if you care to take time and look into a dark-skinned woman's background, and I've done this, I've actually done this. That's why I do what I do. You'll see a history of abuse. Not all dark-skinned women, but I'm just saying, with a lot of dark-skinned women, it's a history of abuses, and you coupling that with the skin tone discrimination, and that does develop into, and it's almost like a person that's been abused growing up. Like let's say they've been beat up and they saw their parents getting beat up, their mom getting beat by their dad or something like that.
Hey,
they grow up
to be,
hold on, Cliff, 1 second, let her finish.
They may grow up to be abused. So it's the same thing. Like some dark skin, not all dark skinned women, but let me speak for myself. Because of what I've gone through, and I'm not trying to make excuses here. I'm just telling you what it is. Because of what I have gone through, I have had to fight like hell to not become a dark-skinned female statistic. There's a Villanova study that proved, for example, that dark-skinned women get longer prison sentences than non-dark-skinned women. You can go look up the study. It's there. There's another study that proved, the New York Times study that proved that dark-skinned girls in school, I already knew this, I didn't need to study, but they proved that they get harsher punishments than non-dark skinned. So I didn't want to grow up to like, embody those stereotypes in terms of getting myself in trouble, but the attitude and the anger is there. Of course it's going to be there. Like, I got to quote Cola Booth here. Shout out.
Whoa. Cola Booth, definitely undesirable here. She is a Black woman who swirls, and she's very proud of sucking non-Black dicks.
This is relevant. One of the things she said, if Black people, I'm paraphrasing here, if Black people want sweet Black girls, they got to treat their daughters sweet. And same thing with the boys. They got to treat the daughters sweet and kind. You can't be all nasty and mean to them and talking to them any kind of way and not taking care of them and abusing them. Treat them with respect. My daughter, I got one little dark-skinned little daughter, and maybe this is not good, I go overboard with the love and the respect and the admiration, because I want her, I'm projecting my own whatever, but I go overboard with my respect and love for her and my care for her, because I don't want her to grow up and become essentially like me. I don't want her to go through all of that. So I tend to, like I said, go overboard with, "You're so beautiful, Lauren. Oh, your hair, I named her after Lauryn Hill, the great." You see what I'm saying? I try to give her a name of a beautiful dark-skinned woman to put Black beauty on her. So we have to treat these girls. I remember watching something on Oprah, the Blackboard Wars, I think that's what it's called. And there was this dark-skinned girl that was crying, and she was upset, and she was just acting a fool. And when they got to the root of it, the principal got to the root of it, the boys was in the class, it's on YouTube, calling her ugly, but they didn't address the dark skin thing. I knew that that's what it was. She was in tears and she was getting in trouble, but it wasn't her fault. When you look at what's going on, you say, and not just the dark-skinned girls. There's an example of when I was subbing for a 3rd grade class, I'll never forget, a little dark-skinned boy, he was tearing up the classroom, and I say, what's wrong? And he told me he was angry because this girl called him black. But you are black. But the problem is black is seen as ugly. And this boy, this happened about 3 years ago. This boy was tearing up my classroom because the girl called him black. This is the extent of the anger that some dark-skinned people feel, and it's unleashed this anger and attitude, but it's because of what they're going through. Dark-skinned mental abuse is what I call it.
Okay.
I just want to ask a question.
Sure.
Do you think that all this with the dark skin, light skin shit, do you think that has anything to do with the Willie Lynch syndrome?
I do, but I think that we have to take it because the Willie Lynch thing, I think black people use Willie Lynch as a crutch to try to dismiss darkism. I think that
no. The thing is, how Willie Lynch had it, he had it where, like, he said that if you use his technique, you could control your slaves for up to 1,000 years, and that wasn't 1,000 years ago. And we're still going by, oh, dark is bad because all the light-skinned people work the big house, and all the darkies be in the field. You see what I'm saying? So it's still that mentality that they saying like dark-skinned people have no real value as light-skinned black people. That's the mentality most people do have, you know. And myself, you know, I'm dark-skinned. Like back when I was in high school, it was light-skinned versus dark-skinned. You know, like Chris would be my enemy if we was in high school. Chris would be my enemy. I wouldn't like him just because he was light-skinned. Just how the field slaves could not stand the house slaves because they was treated different because they was light-skinned. So it is, the Willie Lynch syndrome is still working in full effect. The man says it's gonna work up to 1,000 years. And that wasn't 1,000 years ago. So, but myself, I like light skin, dark skin. I mean, I don't have no preference. Like, I will flirt with you, but it's gonna be a bunch of people saying I'm trying to have relations with you. They ain't even like that. But I do like to color your skin and look like you do take care of your skin. So I want you to give this person who's in the chat room right now. His name is go by MJ23, whatever his name is. Now he was doing a hangover one time. He was laying on his bed. And his legs are very ashy. He looked like he had on. He just looked like he had on charcoal leggings.
Right. Listen, Cliff. Thank you. Miss Strober, let me ask you this question. You know, and if you could respond very succinctly, because I don't want it to be lost in the answer to be lost in the explanation. But what I wanted to focus on is, as a, you know, when black men and other black people hear your message and where you're coming from, you know, there is swaths of black men who'll say that, okay, how much of the personal responsibility of the dark-skinned woman is her desirability lay at her feet? You know what I'm saying? Because, and I understand black people as a whole, our community is in tatters, it's in shambles. You know, it's not black men have not been able to, they've been deliberately targeted, so we can't be patriarchs. You know, everything we've built, they burned down. And so we're backwards. It's more of a matriarchy. And that's, you know, this planet has never seen a society led by its women. And so that's why it's so nuts. But to the personal responsibility of the dark-skinned girl, you know, as far as the intangibles, because you can't touch sweetness, politeness, you know, you can't touch these type of things. At what point does it say, okay, this is the programming, and when does the personal aspect come into play?
Well, I mean, once you become of age and you understand, you know, the basic difference between right and wrong and being a good human being, you have a personal responsibility to respect yourself. You have a personal responsibility to, if you're in a relationship with your black man, to treat your black man with respect and to do what you need to do as a woman to make things work, to be respectful. You know, a lot of people say dark-skinned women are loud, manly, aggressive. They cause problems. You have you have a responsibility to be the best woman that you can be, the best human being that you could be. So that again is where this book comes in with the, how to be the hottest dark-skinned chick on the planet. It's principles in there that you could use to take personal responsibility. That's essentially what I did for myself. I didn't just say, oh, I grew up in poverty and I had all this stuff happen to me, so therefore I'm going to go out and beat people up and commit crimes and act a fool and act ignorant. No, I took personal responsibility. I got a GED. I wound up getting a master's degree, didn't get myself in any trouble. I didn't go around causing problems with people. I don't do that on a, I don't cause problems in people's lives on a daily basis. I was in a marriage for a very long time where I respected my dark-skinned husband. I'm gonna address that later in my own personal videos, but I feel like, and if he's honest, he would say I was respectful towards him and did what I was supposed to do as a woman. So dark-skinned women do have a personal responsibility to be good women, be good human beings, to be responsible in their families, take care of their kids, respect their man. I am big on respecting. If you are in a relationship with a Black man, you don't demean him, you don't disrespect him, you love him. We have a responsibility to do that. So I'm not saying that we don't. We have a responsibility to take care of our physical appearance as well. We have a responsibility not to abandon our children. We have a responsibility not to run around here smoking weed and drinking. We have a responsibility, I would argue, to wear our natural hair. Try to grow out your natural hair. Stop running around here wearing all the weaves. Be your natural self. I think that when I see a dark-skinned woman with her natural hair, I'm in awe of her. I'll be like, whoa, to me, that's beauty. That's ultimate, because you're being you. So we have a responsibility as dark-skinned women to be the best human beings that we can be, and then let that translate into other aspects of our existence and our being in terms of our interaction with building our community. I hope that makes sense. I hope I answered your question succinctly.
Hell yeah, that was an excellent answer, because there were a lot of from watching. I see that your message has matured. You've curved or you've rubbed out those sharp edges that were kind of that have come with time. And so because early from my research about you, it came off as very very woe is me, to say the least. Now, I'm not one of these people who pretends that the dark-skinned Black doesn't have their own unique issues to themselves, right? So I don't pretend that. I agree with you 100% as far as dark-skinned Black people having their own issues, and that those issues being severe. And I understand that it doesn't weigh as heavy for the male like it does the female, because dark Black men have been promoted through media, because that is the pinnacle of masculinity, strength, tough, be it thug or not, it represents manly. You can look at Wesley Snipes and say, yeah, there goes a man, versus, the media's treatment of a Whoopi Goldberg or Iman or whoever the hell else. So I know that door doesn't swing as wide for the Black male that it does for the Black female, dark-skinned Black female. And now that when you come off and say that the dark-skinned Black woman has her own, her own role to play in her desirability, hell, I think that stomps out a lot of fires that you didn't do earlier, because a lot of times it was like, hey, I'm dark, accept me no matter my condition. When it's like, okay, if there's no issue with dark skin, how does the dark skinned woman compete? And if you're saying take care of your body, be childless, take care of your appearance, blah 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 blah, that sets off a whole nother level of thinking, because we can accept that there are issues, but as a man, when I hear it, I'm Black. And, in a racist society, they always told me having money, having success is something you have to do. And you have to do it with these obstacles. Now, Black men, we complain about shit not being fair. We don't complain about not competing. We want to compete. And for a minute there, when I did my research, it came off as though you wanted you just wanted to be awarded the gold medal without actually having to jump over the hurdles, and now that everything with this conversation we're having now, I see that's not the case. So
it's not the case, but I do want to say that non-dark skinned women don't have to do all that. I've seen this before. I have to say this. I have seen unattractive non-dark skinned women get a beauty cute pass. A darker skinned woman that looks the same, has the same attractiveness level as a non-dark skinned woman would not get the same beauty pass. I have seen this, trust me. So I do think that dark skinned women, that is one of the reasons why you say you didn't really hear me articulate that, but actually it was in his book. I had actually wrote these principles in this book, but people, I don't know, some people haven't gotten a chance to read it, but I do give this book away for free at my website, rashidastrober.com. This is free because I wanted the information to get out in this book. It is an ebook, but you can get it for free at my website. But that's the thing. Dark-skinned women, we have to go overboard. Like we have to make I'm not gonna lie. A part of the reason why I do all this juicing and my plant-based and my running and all that stuff, I do it for up here, but I also do it for vanity purposes too. I mean, people have asked me, oh, why don't you make some videos about juicing? I'm gonna get around to doing that. It's just I never thought about doing it because I was so focused on dark skin, speaking about my own pain. But I do all of this because physically I need to make sure I look good. I keep telling people, they think I'm young. I'm not young. I'm 38 years old. Okay. Yeah, I got a nice flat stomach. I got a good, sturdy, strong, athletic body because I work on it. I have some dark-skinned friends. I tell them, look, I'll be honest with them. Hey, you need to do this. Lose some of that weight. Do this. Start juicing. I tell people, I don't really go into this, but now you asking me, I'm pulling it. I tell them, hey, because you gotta, it's almost like what they say about Black people when we go out into the working world. They say you gotta come
twice as hard to get.
You gotta work 100 times harder.
Right. Same
thing with dark-skinned women. We gotta work 100 times harder. And I know that as a dark skin, I can't be, I'm gonna be honest. I know some people might disagree with me, but I can't be heavy set. I'm not gonna be overweight and eating bad food and all this kind of stuff. Maybe one day I'll make a running video for y'all, juicing. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna get around to that because I really do believe that we do have to take care of ourselves. And maybe that's something I should have addressed early on, but I was so busy fighting with people over this other stuff that it's like, okay, that was more important to me than to talk about what dark-skinned women have to do. But yeah, I mean,
no, I definitely understand because, like I said, you coming out with something new. I'm pretty sure the attacks on you in the beginning are vicious, and I'm sure that it hasn't stemmed. Yeah, right. And I want to address the theme, a lot of theme in the chat. And maybe I can address this with you first, and maybe this will answer the thing is, a lot of people are hearing this conversation or have heard your works, and they assume that to big up the dark-skinned woman is to put down the light-skinned woman. And let me tell you what I've gathered from what I've read, saw about you, or whatever. Oh, and even my own personal opinion. I believe that Blacks should have their own standard of beauty. And also ultimately, I look at the races as leagues and as teams in the league. The white race, they win the Super Bowl. They've been winning it for about 500 years now. And so there are certain plays that they run that we should learn from and implement. They have a global standard of beauty where white is at the top, Aryan, super Aryan is the top, blonde and blue, and as pale as possible. And this has bled or infected into every other society on earth. You go to Asia, you get applauded for looking like a fucking ghost. You go to Brazil, skin bleaching, Africa, skin bleaching, all these other things. Dark skin is yuck, patooey, disgusting. So as Blacks, we have to establish our own, where exactly how the whites have done it with their blonde and blue. That's the top of their pyramid. That's the apex. We have to do the same thing with dark skin and let that represent the best and brightest. Let that represent our standard of beauty. The dark skin, the African features, the natural hair, these things, and everything else be a branch on that tree. but most black would have to be the star, you know, to use the Christmas tree as the analogy, because once that is accepted, everything underneath can follow through, because you never hear redheads talk shit about blondes. You never hear brunettes talk shit about blue eyes or whatever the fuck. You know, they accept the hierarchy and know that they benefit from having order and structure. What are your thoughts?
I totally agree. I talk about our African classical, going back to our African classical beauty, and it is dark skin. It's not anti-light skin or that's not what it is. It's like you're saying, white people, they have been masters of that. They go back to anybody that's going to college, for example. You cannot get a 4-year degree without taking something on classical European history. You can't, because they want to make sure that you have a foundation in understanding, okay, we run this, like you said before, and here's proof, here's what we did back in our classical times, and we want you to know about this. We want you to have a knowledge of it. So they make you take, it's called humanities, Western humanities. That's the title of it. I'm telling you, you go to any college or university and you're not going to be able to get a 4-year degree without taking some form of Western humanities. So in the same sense, black people got to develop our own form of African, classical African history. If you look at Africa, for example, there's over 1 billion people in Africa. The majority of those people, they're dark skinned. They just are. That's a fact. Okay, people get angry when I say that. I don't understand why they could do their own research and they would find that this is true. I know that there are all hues and colors of people in Africa, but the majority are dark skinned. And scientists, anthropologists, all these different scholars, they've proven that the human race began with the black, dark African woman. I believe Lucy is her name, over in somewhere in East Africa. It was a dark skinned woman. Everybody came out of dark skin. So dark skin is the standard. And people can be mad all they want. I don't even see why you would be mad, because here's the thing. If the majority of people in Africa were light skinned, for example, or if it was a light skinned woman that gave birth to the human race, for example, and if this was proven, I would accept it. I would consider myself a form of an intellectual. I would accept this. I read research. You understand? I study what other people have written, scholars have written, and I look at this and I say, okay, here's the evidence, here's the proof, and I'm reasonable. So if it was a light-skinned black woman or a brown-skinned black woman, I would say, okay, this is what it is. But in this case, it happens to be dark skin with nappy hair, kinky hair, tightly coiled hair, whatever you want to call it. That is where the origins of humanity. So in my mind, that should be the standard. I agree with you, and that's what I have been saying. So it has nothing to do with people have accused me of not liking light-skinned people, when I've never said anything. If you check my history, if you really research me, I've never said anything negative about a non-dark-skinned black woman. Ever. I've never called them out. Now, they called me out my name plenty of times. I've received a lot of hate mail from them, death threats even, from light-skinned black women. But I've never attacked them. Never done that. I've even told them, look, I'm open to debate you, like me and you. We're not debating, but we're talking. But I told them, look, we can do a live discussion / debate. None of them will take me up on the challenge. I'm open. So it's not about being anti-light-skinned black woman. That has nothing to do with it. And furthermore, I think, and I have to say this, I think that it is very selfish for someone to attack me in terms of, and I'm not saying you, I'm saying the people that have done this, they'll say, oh, you don't like light-skinned women. That's selfish, because if you are honest, when you quiet and you're alone with yourself and you start thinking on this issue, if you're honest, you know that dark-skinned women are the most abused and berated women on the planet. You know this. Just look over at Africa. I just said there's a billion plus people over there. You know this. So why would you be upset if we're trying to elevate the most oppressed? That doesn't make. Do you want them to continue to wallow in their oppression? Right.
That's clear what it is. Nobody wants to be number two. And plus, if this was like catching steam, you would get pushback from women who have been able to benefit from being able to step on you. So, you know, yeah, they have no problem with the way the system is ran as long as they don't have to be the dark-skinned girl. Now, to move on, because I read the chat and people are bringing up points. You know, for my audience, what is your theory on the one drop rule?
I don't subscribe to it. I call it the white baby daddy rule. What people must understand, and I think Dr. Neely Fuller does a good job of explaining this. You guys get a chance, go check him out. You can operationalize different terms and words and come up with your own rules, and that's what they do. That's what white people do. That's what the history of this country is. They came over here, took it away from the Indians, and made up their own laws. That's what they do. That's the same. That's what the one drop rule is. You don't have to subscribe to it. These men, these founding fathers, if you will, they created rules based on their own selfish self-interest. So the one drop rule comes out of that. And it doesn't make any sense. They're saying that one drop of black blood makes you black. They did that so they could shirk their responsibility, so that they didn't have to include their offspring in their race, so that it wouldn't disrupt,
the hierarchy. Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, it was a way to justify their existence without having to pass down their resources or actually, elevate them in society. So
black people need to throw the one drop rule out of their head. They don't even subscribe to the one drop rule in Africa. They don't subscribe to it. They don't throw the one, and it's not to say, don't get me wrong here. It's not to say that being a mixed race person is a bad thing. That's where people misconstrue this. This is just dealing with truth. If a person has a black parent and a white parent, that person is mixed. How could you sit there and just discount the white parent that the person came from? That's insane to me. That person is a mixed race person. I don't get the logic behind that. That's just my whole thing on it. I say throw out the one drop rule.
Well, see, me personally, the reason why I say the one drop rule is bad, for black people, is because it makes black people obsolete. If you and I, if we have the product of our union is as equal as the product of me and a non-black woman, then there's no incentive for either of us to deal with one another, right. Because the product of it is granted equal citizenship in the black nation or whatever, and right. So it makes us obsolete. And that's my biggest thing about it. Also,
it created economic injustice. What I call in this book, Darkism, I call it systemic economic darkism, because it's created a situation where you got an economic hierarchy where the white people, the lightest people, which are the white people, they get all the economic benefits. And as you move down the hierarchy, the economic benefits trickle down. And the dark-skinned people who are on the bottom, they get the crumbs. So the economics is a huge part of skin tone prejudice, of darkism. That right there, that's really what gets me. Because I look and I say, are these dark-skinned, when I was teaching, are these dark-skinned children, are they going to grow up and face, I'm not going to be able to get a job because this person is discriminating against me because I'm dark? And I'm going to tell you right now, if people don't believe this, I've seen it. I'm not going to say this company name, but maybe I should say their name. If you're in Los Angeles, California, I've seen instances of darkism, of where they would stereotype a person that was dark skinned, they thinking that, oh, they're going to be ghetto, or they're not the right fit for the company. I have seen this. So that's the economics plays a big role in this. When I talk about equality, I'm saying let's be equal on an economic level. Don't be discriminating against me because I'm darker. In this same company, I went to the corporate office and they had a mixed race black at the top. You saw all the dark ones at the bottom of the company. I've seen this. I saw dark-skinned girls women, should I say, young women, college graduates, who they wouldn't promote into higher positions. And I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, these women have the same qualifications or higher. Their sales is there. Wait a minute. These are things like people think this is in my head. No.
Yeah, it's very much real. No, yeah, I understand what you're saying. And for a second, I want to address the chat. I saw something that really burns me, and it comes from a guy named Big J Triple Blowjob. Triple Blowjob, you say, please explain Asians making money than whites. And I know your big dumbass meant to say making more money, but you stutter and you're fat.
Just give me the word. Just give me the word. Got my snapper rifle ready.
No. And Cliff, you got to stop blacking people for the love of white Jesus.
I'm not blacking nobody. I'm just blacking the people who just making trolls because I'm on here, like using my name and stuff. I'm not blacking like regular people.
Right. Well, but leave them alone too, man, because that's part of the hilarity. Anyway, using Asians as this pretend model minority is a falsehood and is very cowardly. You know, you want to compare black people and other groups, well, and I'm talking about black specifically, to this group of people who come from a culture, a land, a country, you know, things like that back them. So we are still at a handicap. They didn't go through the same things that we did. So I need you to shut the fuck up about that. Another thing, as far as equality, and what you just said, Ms. Strober, I find equality to be a word that's used by racists and confused blacks, because equality at this point, I don't think that enough black people, and definitely racists haven't thought this through, that you can't get equality without a season of supremacy. Because them just saying, okay, hey, you know what, we're gonna take our foots off your necks, go ahead and do your thing. When they are, for example, are flying in spaceships and we haven't even built a fucking horse and buggy, you know, the equality, it can't be. The white giant has to stop growing. It has to be, their progress has to cease so that, you know, we can catch up. Because if they're making spaceships and we take years to get to that level, by the time we get to spaceship level, they're going to be fucking teleporting and shit like that. And we'll always be at a disadvantage, you know, because I don't believe that we can turn the tide with racism or colorism or anything other than that, anything like that, without a season of supremacy, without, for example, a media blitz, all out warfare on non-black media. You know, it have to be tons of so many dark-skinned, pretty, soft, feminine, smiling, pleasant women that it'd be throwing up, and it have to be a season, centuries of that shit, because we're talking about deprogramming the planet. So, you know, equality is a word that when I hear that, it's like, oh, either you don't know what you're talking about or you're being intentionally dishonest. And I'm not saying you, I'm saying the universal you, not the specific you, you know, because there's no way that, you know, they get a 500 a year head start and then they say, all right, we're going to stop locking you up, we're going to stop preventing jobs, you know, and they get to continue their lives. That's not how a revolution works. That's not how you get things to change. And that's why whites will allow us to do anything that does not work. We can march because it doesn't work. You know, we're not allowed to really take efforts to start a real revolution where shit will change. And so, you know, I don't pretend that, you know, Zoe Saldana and you, for example, could have run a campaign side by side. You know, in order to get over the Zoe Saldana representing black people, she has to be left at home. And you, for example, would have to be heralded. You know, Lupita Nyong'o, is that her name? Lupita, I'm probably fucking up her last name. You know, she would have to be the face of Black beauty exclusively. And if she is the face, then the others can still be able to thrive, because that is the apex. That's what accepted. You know, this idea that, you know, we can run them side by side. Well, that colorism, that racism, that white brainwashing has the advantage. So no matter if you run it, if you guys are running simultaneously, you're still going to lose. You know, so what's the use of playing a game and you're not trying to win? You know, there has to be real solutions. You know, and that's why white people don't want us to ever, you know, really sit and think, because for us to get even, the white giant has to stop. That Godzilla has to die. You know, we're talking about banks closing, nations paying what they owe, you know, completely halting their progress in order for us to come up. That's a revolution. So equality, you know, we're not at that stage yet. And on top of it, we would have to define what equality is. And right now we're using their definition.
Right.
What is Big J keep talking about? Explain Kendrick Lamar. What is this idiot talking about?
Okay, yeah, Mr. Strober, yeah, please explain your views on Kendrick Lamar and his girl.
I don't like Kendrick Lamar. I don't respect him. My views. I'm gonna try I'm not going to curse today. I'm not going to curse. I'm not going to curse. I'm not going to curse. I don't like Kendrick Lamar. What the comments that I made, they still stand. I still feel the same way. I feel that he's hypocritical. I feel that he's not practicing what he preaches. I feel that he deceived. In fact, in A Dark Skinned Woman's Revenge, if you really want to know my feelings on Kendrick Lamar, I wrote an essay in this book, at the end of this book, dedicated to really breaking down into detail why I came to the conclusion that I did on Kendrick Lamar and his choice of mate and his deception in regards to him deceiving dark-skinned Black women. And I don't appreciate that. It made me angry. Even when I'm speaking about it right now, it makes me angry. So I hope I answered the person's question.
So what? Kendrick Lamar got a white woman or something, or just a light-skinned woman? Well, I don't know.
She's mixed race. She's not even. You could argue that she's not a Black woman. She's mixed. So she's not even a Black woman. And
the problem is that is what? What's the problem with that? I'm just asking.
She's not a Black woman. That's the problem. She's not a Black woman. She's not a Black woman in general, and she's not a dark-skinned woman in particular.
So you must really hate Kanye West.
Woo. I don't want to use the word hate. I don't hate anybody, but I have a deep.
Okay, well, I hate a lot of people, but so you dislike him a lot. You dislike him a lot.
He's loyal and he's evil and he's just a terrible human being. I mean, he even in his song, you remember what he said? He said, "And when he get on, he leave your ass for a white girl," and that's exactly what he did.
Well, everybody know that Kanye West he's to me, he's mental. He's been mental for a long damn time, you know. But so it's like what you're saying is like most of these celebrities, Black celebrities, guys, when they make it, they just pick up white women or non-Black women.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is that it's a part of destroying the Black community, because again, we have to, all the issues that you just talked about in terms of equality, we're not even there. I agree with you. But if you going out here and you just dissing your women and leaving them, and you know that we got children to take care of, we have all these social economic issues where the Black family is not together like it should be. You know, we got all these things working against us, and you leaving your Black woman? What's wrong?
Okay, somebody asked a good question. Somebody asked a good question. Maya Angelou, she was married to a white guy. I mean, how do you feel about that?
You know, the Black women that do it, they're wrong too. And that's been a criticism that people have said, oh, you don't address the Black women that date white men. But again, I remember what I told y'all. I started everything off of what was going on in my head. I'm thinking Black man and Rashida. Woo, let me go get me a Black man. Let me make them like me. That's what I'm thinking. But like you said before, you could see that the paradigm has expanded and my mind has expanded. And so the Black women, in saying all that, the Black women that date outside their race, and a lot of people have came to me on my YouTube, on my Facebook, on my social media, on my email and said, Rashida, well, how do you feel about these Black women that's on the internet that's encouraging Black women to date outside their race and dismiss the Black man? They're insane. Under no circumstances, and I've been done wrong by Black men. My dark-skinned husband did me wrong. I'm not gonna go into that too much. But my loyalty is to the Black man. We cannot abandon ship. For you to sit here as a Black woman, I'm addressing what these people say without even having debates with these women that's doing this. For Black women to sit here and encourage other Black women to date outside of their race, that's a form of genocide. You're insane. I don't agree with that. No.
Okay. Now there are those that would say that this will be news to them because you've made videos that exclusively targeted the swirling Black man. Like, you made a video recently crucifying Luke Cage and his decision to marry a white woman, but there is no content that I have found where you've done that in reverse. Is there any reason why?
Yeah, the reason I just explained it is because you got to understand I'm coming from a female point of view. I wasn't thinking in terms of, I hope I'm being real clear about this. People must understand when a person starts a movement or some type of campaign, generally they're starting it out of themselves. Like, for example, what's the Mad Mothers Against Drunk Driving? That was started from a mother who had lost her child to a drunk driver. So you're thinking in terms of how you feel, and you got all this pent up anger. I know I did. So I'm just like, I'm gonna unleash this on the world. How I feel about these black men. So I couldn't see the other side of that. And another reason why I couldn't see the other side of that is me personally, even though I had all these issues with black men not liking me and thinking I was ugly, I have never been attracted to anything but a black man. And my father, who was super black, he was very good to me. So in my head, I was thinking, okay, well, we just need to work this out. We just need to figure out how to work this out. You know, we can figure this thing out. We don't have to leave each other. So my thinking was, how can I get black men to, again, come back to me first, and then dark-skinned black women on a whole. That's the reason why you don't see me focusing on you didn't see me focusing on black women who dated white men or non-black men. But recently, if people watch my video, I actually did address it in one of my videos. I talked about Simone Biles. I talked about Simone Biles in the video as well as on my Facebook. So
now let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
You know, I want to make sure, because what I'm gathering is when it comes to mixed, it's not about complexion, it's about ancestry. Because I'm reading the chat and people are saying, oh, well, you know, she's the same color as you, Chris. But the difference is that I'm the product of 2 black parents. And you're saying that Kendrick Lamar's girl is not the product of 2 black people, right?
Absolutely. Well, if one of her parents is non-black and one parent is black, then that would make her mixed.
Okay, no, I'm just saying that for the chat, because like I said, sometimes you get these faceless, ignorant yahoos who type this dumb shit, and I'm just like, where did you even get this, you know, to begin with? But again, you know, and it's my bad for addressing this, because I am dealing with retards.
I understand.
Now, I know you said you were only available for an hour. How much longer do I have with you? Because I want to see if I can get some audience questions, and then I can let you go. But if you got to go now, I understand.
I can give you about 10 more minutes.
Okay, all right. Well, then, damn. Okay, all right, fine. So, all right, trolls, you typing bastards, type in your questions for her. You know, and, let me know, and I'll ask them. And we can get up out of here. But if you guys elect not to ask her questions directly, then I'm gonna let her go, and you gotta forever shut the fuck up. So ask your questions.
Yeah, I'm always open for questions. Always.
Did you ever see the movie Skinned?
No, I haven't seen that.
Okay, let's see. Ask her about her feelings about Obama because her husband is mixed. What are your feelings about Obama?
Obama is not the first black president. He's the first mixed race president. He's not black. He has a white mother and a black father, which would make him the first mixed race black president. And I don't think it's fair that he gets the credit for being the first black president.
So basically what you're saying, anybody who's mixed, you don't consider them black. If they got a black, one black parent, one white parent, you don't consider them black at all.
No, they're mixed.
Okay, that's fine. Let's move on. What we have from Circle the Wagons, what is black to you? Can you define black, the rules of that for you?
Right. Black to me is, number one, if you have 2 black parents, then you're black. Black to me is the billion plus dark-skinned people on the continent of Africa. That's black. That's the essence. Let's go to Africa. Let's go back to the essence.
Okay, we got from my man X-Man, Xanatos Clutch. Do you consider mixed and light-skinned men betraying their race if they date non-dark-skinned women?
If I consider light-skinned black men, if they're dating non-black women, I consider light-skinned, let me be clear, light-skinned black men, if they are dating non-black women, yes, I do consider them to be a problem, because they could have married or dated a black woman, particularly a dark-skinned black woman, and contributed to nation building. It's all about nation building for me and repairing the relationship between, you know, Black people and building. Why would you're going outside of your race, contributing to another's economic and social and political development? You're not doing anything for your people.
Okay. Now we have another question. Oh, Big J's stupid stuttering ass. Look, triple blowjob. Triple blowjob. Malcolm X had a Black father and a mixed mother. So that makes him overwhelmingly Black, not half Black, overwhelmingly so. So shut the fuck up and don't disrespect.
Why even Big J is a fucking retard, man. You know this.
And you're right, Cliff. And I'm gonna say this because I'm gonna open up another stream, because once this is done, I'll open up another stream. Then you can cut me loose, like really, because I want to. You know, I don't know if you know my antics. That's why Chris had to hold me down, because I'm kind of wild with it. So, okay.
I apologize.
I appreciate that, Cliff. Thank you. Now, there's another question. Do you have ill feelings against Tommy Sotomayor for interviewing you, then ethering you?
You know, no, I don't. I actually am very empathetic towards Tommy Sotomayor. I know people might think that's strange. I'm gonna tell you why. Because I believe that Tommy Sotomayor he was victimized for being dark skinned. I believe he went through hell, and I believe that he's taking out everything that he went through. He's now unleashing on Black people. Exactly. And on particular. So I actually feel sorry for him, but at the same time, I'm angry with him because you bash dark-skinned women so bad, and you have a dark-skinned little girl, and I keep thinking to myself, when that little girl grows up, what is she going to think and say when she sees all the work, the destruction that her father has contributed to, you know, the state of dark-skinned Black women. So okay. I don't hold no ill will towards Tommy Sotomayor. I feel bad for him, and I pray for him, and I hope he gets healing. And what I really hope he stops doing is degrading and bashing dark-skinned Black women. I wish he would stop doing that.
Well,
okay,
good luck with
got
that.
You. Now, Jesse, WGT, she says, do you know who the descendants of stolen Africans are?
Do I know who the descendants of stolen Africans are?
Yeah.
I'm not sure I really understand that question, but I would think
that's fine. That if you don't understand it, because I don't want you to misanswer it. Hey, Jesse, break that down one more level. I'll come back to you. Let me go through the So LeBrandon Owens was peppering the chat with the same question.
I appreciate everybody's questions. I really do.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it. I'm trying to keep it. You know, because you got a lot of weirdos saying, "Hey, you know, who are you?" You know, they're asking about your, you know, just crazy shit.
Yeah, stupid shit.
I'm used to it. I'm not offended. Trust me. It's all good. No question.
Okay.
No question to me.
Okay. Here's another one. This from Beauty One. J. Cole, who is mixed but is down for Black issues. What is your opinion on him?
Okay, I don't know who J. Cole is, but if a person that's mixed wants to speak out on Black issues in terms of speaking on how Black people can be helped and speaking out against injustice, I'm not opposed to a person speaking out for that. But what I have said in the past about mixed race people speaking out on Black issues is I do feel that sometimes they unfairly are able to take the lead and get more attention and get more honor and prestige and praise for what Black people have been saying for the longest. And that person might not get the attention or the accolades or the recognition that a mixed race person might get. And I don't think that that's fair. Again, I'm for equality here. See, we have darkism, what I call it, in so many forms. I think that's a form of darkism, even though I think it's perfectly okay for the mixed race person to speak out against, Black oppression.
Okay.
But sometimes I think a mixed race person gets caught in the middle. They get held from both sides. Actually, the white people don't want them, the Black people don't want them. So I think they go through some of the hardest times. And another thing, when we keep saying race, we're all actually one race, and that is the human race.
Oh, Cliff, hold, Cliff. Hey, let's put a pin in that one. We're gonna stop you there because that's definitely not the thoughts and feelings of the Drowsing Black Nation. Let's see. It was another question. Hey, Black Cherubim, you want to know? Okay, I'll ask the question. Let's see. Jesse says more slaves went to the islands in South America. Jesse, I need you to break it down one more time. Black Cherubim asks, do you think Bob Marley is a black man?
No.
Bob Marley's mixed?
I think Bob Marley, the facts are, let's deal with facts here. The facts are he has a black, dark-skinned mother, yes, and his father was a white man. So he's mixed. It's not a negative thing. It's just the facts. So he's mixed. He's not black because I don't subscribe to the one drop rule.
I didn't know that. Get the fuck out of here. Bob Marley is
yeah,
mixed.
I think I did hear about he was being mixed.
I know he shoved tons of dick to white women and had, his sons,
and while we're speaking on that, Bob Marley actually cheated on when he became like Kanye West said, when he get on, he leave your ass for a white girl. Bob Marley, when he got famous, he started cheating on his dark-skinned wife who was with him when they were poor, Rita Marley. He cheated on her with multiple non-black, non-dark-skinned women. Cindy, I think her last name is Breakspear. I hope I'm saying her last name right. She was like a Jamaican beauty queen, very, very, very fair skin. He was cheating on his wife with all it was. I lost respect when I saw that. And the same thing happened. Let me just say this with his offspring, Rohan Marley. He was with Lauryn Hill. He ended up dealing with a non-white woman. I don't know if he left Lauryn for this woman, but I do know for a fact, and y'all could Google it, that after having all these children with the dark-skinned, beautiful Lauryn Hill, he ended up with this white woman. It's there. It's on. Google it.
Okay, now we have another question. Do you find that Cola Booth is a hypocrite for calling out colorism, but advocates interracial dating? That comes from Case K. He's a troll that comes in here who I found out I went to college with his mom, and I'm waiting on the results of the paternity test because he may be my boy. But what do you think about that question?
Well, first of all, I love Cola Booth. I know y'all people might eat me up in the comments. I don't care. I'm gonna tell you why I love Cola Booth real quick. Because Cola Booth, I'm a historian on this. In terms of dark skin, beauty discrimination, she is the first person to speak back in the 90s before the internet. We got people talk about dark skin now because it's trending and popular. Cola Booth is the very first person in the world to speak on dark-skinned female beauty discrimination. And if you do not believe me, go do your research on this. No one can take that away from her. That is the reason why I respect her. She is the mother of this. If it wasn't for Cola Booth, I got to be honest, because I'm an intellectually honest person. There would not be Rashida Strober, the dark-skinned activist. Okay? Back in the 90s, she talked about this. People was talking crazy.
But Rashida, I don't mean to cut you off.
Yes, let me answer your question. She is a hypocrite for that.
Okay,
but I still love her and respect her.
Okay, now that whole 90s, she was waving a flag for dark-skinned women, but she continued. Even back then, she was bragging about sucking off Osama bin Laden. So I don't know how those two thoughts can occupy the same brain. Either.
When I told you in the beginning, I was actually searching for a person like me. I'm the world's first dark-skinned activist, inventor of dark-skinned activism. I was searching when I was like 19, 20, I was searching for a person that talked about dark skin. I couldn't find nobody. There was nobody that existed. I did that speech in 98 about Alec Weck, the dark skin model. And then after that, I started doing more research. And that's when I ran into Cola Booth.
Okay, but this is her message.
We can't take that away from her.
Her message doesn't ring hollow for you when she's talking about all this specific dark-skinned hate, but she physically practices interracial dating. And so she puts herself at risk of producing the same group of people that discriminate against her themselves.
Right.
So her message doesn't ring hollow. Because here's the thing. You know what? I hope Malcolm X on the Mount, wherever, a mountain in Egypt, whatever that is, I consider him to be at the peak of that. If
Right.
it came out that he was dealing with white women and had that whole dealings, it makes his message null and void. The reason why Malcolm is who he is because you held him up to the light and he was a real $100 bill. And so what I'm saying is with and again, I know we press for time, so I'm going to wrap this up.
Right.
With her talking this shit and living something else, that is the epitome of hypocrisy.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'm agreeing with you on that point. But I can separate out the two. I can say yes, it's hypocritical to date outside of your race while speaking about the issues that pertain to dark-skinned women in dating. That's hypocritical. But at the same time, I can't just wipe away the history of Cola being the first person to actually speak. No one else was doing it. Everybody else was scared to do it. I'm telling you.
I understand that.
Was doing it.
But Ms. Strober, what I'm saying is the history of her words, you would think that the history of her vagina would weigh more. You understand what I'm saying?
I completely understand where you're coming from.
But here's the other thing. Here's the flip side. And the chat brought this up. Worry Free, one of the greatest human beings to ever live, she decapitated a notorious terroristic troll. She made the point that how do you still respect a hypocrite such as Cola Booth, but you despise Kendrick Lamar?
Because it's more so, again, and I'm not asking for people to agree with me. What I'm asking for people is to understand where I'm coming from. It's going back to the history. Let me say it like this: for people that have been to school, you college, you write papers and you do research. Okay, if you're getting a PhD or a master's degree, you're going to have to do what's called a literature review. So whatever topic you decide to write on, you can't just go out there and start writing on that topic. You don't do that. You go and see what other people have said before you. You go and research the topic, and then you find the people that have written and researched on that topic, and then you research the researchers. And then you write a literature review, and you say, this person said this, and da-da-da-da-da. You give that person their credit. That's how I'm thinking about this. Purely. And I can separate that out from her actual lived experience and actions. Because I'm thinking with a scholarly side, the scholarly side of me is saying, this woman is the first. She didn't call herself a dark skin. I'm first person to call myself a dark skin activist. First person that invented dark skin activist. She didn't do that. But what she did do, she was the first person that spoke exclusively on dark skinned female beauty. She did it. I can't erase that because it already happened. And all I'm saying is I respect that aspect and that portion of her. I do not agree. I would love to see Cola Booth with a black man. I would have, oh my God, you have no idea. But that didn't happen. She was with a black man. She was married to a black man for a long time. And she actually has 2 children from a black man, 2 full-blooded children. So she does have a history of being with black men. But I do think it's contradictory. I would like to see her with a black man, my own personal views. But in terms of the historical contribution, when this stuff is studied 100 years from now, I can't erase the fact that she was the first person. I can't do that. I can't lie. I have to be honest about it, which I hope people will be honest about me. I hope they would say, you know what, Rashida actually invented dark skin activism. This is what happened. That's what I'm doing with her. I'm paying homage, even though I don't agree with every single thing that she's doing. I hope people can understand that, whether they agree with me or not. I hope they can understand why I think the way I do in terms of Cola Booth and her contribution to the dark skin movement.
I would say that when you put on your scholarly hat, how we were kids, you had to put on your thinking cap. So you're putting on your scholarly hat, and when you look at these 2 black individuals, Kendrick Lamar, dark-skinned male, Cola Booth, dark-skinned female, you give Kendrick no quarter when it comes to his dating decisions. And let me ask you this: would your opinion on him change if you were to find out that his girl's parents were both fair-skinned Black people, not one Black and one non-Black? Would your opinion on him change?
No, my opinion on him would. Honestly, it won't change. Nah, it won't change. It won't change.
Okay, so because this is what I'm saying, people are going to hear this, and again, I think we've met the 10-minute mark, and I appreciate you coming on. People are going to hear this and going to say that your positions are at your discretion. They're not hard positions, because when given those two specifically, you would think that you would have to adjust it based on the scholarly evidence, because as a scholar, actions speak louder than words. You know what I'm saying? You can have a theory.
What hasn't contributed and impacted my life or impacted the dark skin movement like Cola Booth? That's one of the main reasons why. He doesn't have that type of historical significance. Okay. Another issue that I take with Kendrick Lamar in terms of why I wouldn't change my position is the fact that Kendrick Lamar, and I want to say this without putting out too much. I'm just gonna say it like this, because when people entrust things in me, I'm a loyal person. I take that very seriously. The stuff that I said about Kendrick Lamar was right on the money with what he really feels, with how he feels towards, let's just say, darker skinned women. I'm gonna leave it at that, because I don't want to release. It's certain things that I've been privy to that absolutely, my opinion of him is written in stone.
So did he make a song or something disrespecting dark skinned women?
I'm gonna leave it at that.
Hear it.
Well, Cliff, her issue is
not disclosed, folks.
Her issue with him is his choice of mate. But again, Ms. Strober, I really appreciate you coming on to speak with me. I can appreciate your message. Let the people know where they can buy your works at.
You could get it directly from me. You go to rashidastrober.com, and you can get it from my website, or you can email me at darkskinisbeautifulcampaign@gmail.com and get the book there. And if you get the book, which I encourage people to do, right now I'm doing a tour. I'm putting together a tour of the play, and I do have a GoFundMe where I'm raising money, because these shows cost money to produce. So I have a Fort Worth show that I have already locked in, that's going to take place in November of this year, November 12th, out in Fort Worth, Texas. I have just gotten a contract from a venue in Tucson, Arizona, the Burger Theater. We are solidifying the agreement right now, but there's money involved where you have to put down deposits and all this kind of stuff. So it's production costs. So I'm constantly raising money to produce these shows about dark skin, because that's what it is. So I'm asking people to donate or buy a book, because you're helping me to produce these shows and take them throughout the United States. I also have a Rayla, North Carolina venue in July. So as I get closer to these dates, I put the information out. But the bottom line is I am on tour, basically, and it costs money to produce this tour. So if you purchase a book, the money goes towards the tour, the production of the play and the tour and all that kind of stuff. So you can go again to rashidastrober.com, or you can email me at darkskinisbeautifulcampaign@gmail.com, and I'll send you an autographed copy of one of my books.
Okay, can I have one more question, because my girl keeps blowing my phone up, want me to ask you this one question.
Sure.
She's saying that her cousin is light skinned with blue eyes, but both her parents are Black. Do you consider her Black?
Yes, of course. Listen, folks, let me just say this, because I want to be real clear about this. I do not hate light-skinned people. I have never said anything negative about a light-skinned person, because I don't, unless they did something bad to me and it wasn't because of their light skin, it's because of maybe their character. But I have never attacked a light-skinned person for them being light-skinned. That makes no sense to me. My best friend is a light-skinned Black woman. She is very light-skinned. Okay, she actually, when people see her, they be like, what is going on here? She actually goes on tour with me and helps me with all kinds of stuff. She light skinned. She's been doing this with me for the longest. Okay, her mother, when I was homeless and broken poor. Her mother, rest in peace, Vita, she was super light skinned, and she took care of me and took me in and made sure I ate. I got my GED when I lived with her. She, when she was alive, she would come to my plays, all that. I don't understand why these people are thinking that I don't like light skin. That is insane to me. When
it just seems like
my life or light skin, I just want to put that out there. I want to.
No, it just seems like, okay, if they light skin, or if they light skin because both their parents are black, it's cool. But if they're light skin because one of the parents is black, one of the parents is white, that's when you have a problem with it.
I don't have a problem with a person that's mixed race. In terms
unless they marry somebody black.
What I have a problem with is my black men dating outside of our race. And what I consider
maybe most black men don't consider that outside their race. If one of the parents is black, one of the parents is white, maybe most black men don't consider that outside their race. As long as one of the parents is black, they consider that person black. That's what I'm saying. You can't really tell a person how to feel about another person because one of their parents is black, one of the parents is white. They consider that person black.
Cliff, I think you're falling into the trap of a person having a message and a person imposing a message. You know, this is her theory. She's not, making people think the way she does. She personally has set up her own definition of what's black, and it involves two black parents to create a black product. So if other blacks don't feel that way, more power to them. And really, there's nothing that she can do to change that. But she has adopted her own feelings towards that. So, you consider mixed people black, and that's fine. She doesn't. I just don't want those waters to be muddied as if she's trying to impose this thought on the masses. This is something that she's adopted on her own. And it's becoming slowly but surely a popular thought. But Ms. Strober, again, I appreciate you coming. It was a pleasure. And again, when you come to Tucson, I'll be at your show.
Thank you.
And once I get the book, I'm gonna do a review on A Dark Skinned Woman's Revenge. To give my take on it. And like I said, I appreciate you. Going well over the allotted time. And I thank you for coming on and adding to my platform.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
You have a good night, sister.
You too. Good night. Thank y'all for watching.
Okay, trolls, you stupid motherfuckers. Now look, I'm going to make another stream so that we can so I can cuss y'all out. So that's what this is going to be. So I'm going to make another stream immediately. I'm going to cuss you out. Cliff will be here, and Cliff will be cussing you out, but for different reasons. You guys are bastards, and just despicable motherfuckers. And Lord Drazen will be here to execute his enemies.